Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. And boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Charlo and Castano, you guys have finally rescheduled their fight, the rematch, for 14 May. The fight's going to be taking place in Carson, California. This is the thing, right? The first fight was amazing. A lot of people didn't know about Brian Castano. In 2021, he won the WBO welterweight belt from Tejera, a fighter out of Brazil. The fight was back and forth, but Castano did to Tejera, who was a taller fighter, something very similar to what he did with Charlo. He stays low, he stays small, but he wins his fights with those hooks. And that's what caused Charlo so many problems. Castano is a guy, you throw a jab at him, he just, from training, he just instinctively slips and lets his hands go. If you hit him and he catches you here, he instinctively lets the left hook go, right hook go. And those are things that cause Charlo problems. In addition, Charlo was throwing the jab, throwing the right hand, but it was more pop shotting. And Castano kept up a high guard. That created huge problems for Charlo. But when Charlo decided to commit to the uppercut, commit to the hook, step around, get off first, throw in combinations, that's where he found success. But hold on, let me close my door right here. Let me close this door. Yeah. See? Cool when you got long arms, right? But going into this fight, I think Castano's gonna. I think Charlo wins the fight easy if he keeps Castano at a distance. He can't afford to let Castano get close to him. He can't let him close the distance. That's going to create huge problems for Charlo. Castano is going to come into this fight, like Charlo, with a lot more confidence because he realizes, one, he can hurt Charlo. Two, he can outwork Charlo. And three, if Charlo isn't able to get him out of there, Charlo starts to overthink his punches. Sometimes you'll see Charlo kind of half commit through a power punch, through a jab, through a hook. He'll throw it halfway and pull it back. And he can't afford to do that in this fight with Castano. I think Castano in this fight is going to press hard the first 3 rounds. That's where he had success, was early in the fight. Pressing Charlo, coming at him with the better work rate and letting his hands go. Charlo took over the second half of the fight just by letting his hands go because Castano was tired. I think Charlo missed his opportunities to get Castano out of there because Charlo had to fight tooth and nail the first half of the fight to keep Castano off of him. So they both were fatigued, but in the second half of the fight, Charlo showed that, he definitely was superior as far as punching power. And he showed that he could, if he lets his hands go, not just pop shotting, but in combinations, that he can give Castano more to worry about, and that proved very successful. But going into this fight, I think Castano has a great chance of winning. However, I gotta be honest, he tore his bicep. They rescheduled the March 19th fight. That's when the second fight was supposed to take place on March 19th. It was rescheduled so Castano can still heal. He tore his bicep, because the fight was so violent. He suffered an injury. So they had to reschedule so he can let his bicep heal. And his right hand, he's right in his right arm and he's right-handed. And I'm going to tell you from experience, boxing and lifting a lot of weights, I've had rotator cuff, I had my right rotator cuff repaired and the bicep tendon reattached. On the left side, I had the left rotator cuff repaired and the bicep tendon reattached. That's just from wear and tear on your body. I'm not young anymore. But when it comes to Castano, but when it comes to me, and if I find myself, getting a little excited, deciding to, play sports with my sons, throw hooks on the heavy bag, and I've re-injured that right shoulder. It hurts really badly now when I move my arms around. And I know what it feels like. I know it's torn again. It's not as bad, but it's a small tear because depending on how I move my arm and shoulder, I start to have that pain that I had prior to the surgery. So with Castano and him doing something that's even more vigorous than me just throwing a right hand on a heavy bag, he's going to be in the fight with Charlo. And if he's not 100%, he's gonna injure himself in that fight, and it's gonna be all she wrote. I think he's gonna throw that right hand. He's gonna re-injure that bicep. He's gonna turn his back to Charlo and go into the ropes and take a knee, and the referee's gonna wave it off because he won't be able to continue. And Charlo's gonna be the undisputed 154-pound champion, super welterweight. But this is the other catch. See, the WBO, like the WBO don't have time to play. Whoever owns the WBO belt, no matter your weight class, the WBO wants you to defend that belt. They want their money. They want their belt being defended. So they were gonna, they initially could have stripped Castano of that WBO belt and made it vacant. They chose not to. They said with his circumstances, we're gonna give him time to get better, and the fight was rescheduled for May. So they worked with him, but they said if Castano, no matter his circumstances, can't fight on 14 May, the WBO belt will be considered vacant. I mean, they're taking it from him. And then, what's his name? Tim Tszyu and somebody else is going to end up fighting for that belt. So it's, no. It's just going to be vacant. And then probably Tim Tszyu and someone else are going to fight for it. But if Charlo, for some reason, withdraws from the fight, then Castano has to face his mandatory Tim Tszyu. And that's going to be a very good fight too, but not as good as the fight with Charlo. Charlo's a much bigger name unless they fight in Australia. So that's what's going on. The WBO is not playing around when it comes to Castano. He has to defend the belt. If Charlo falls out, Castano has to fight Tim Tszyu. It's the mandatory for the WBO. If Castano falls out, the belt becomes vacant, and then Charlo can fight somebody else for it. So a lot of pressure is on Castano. Bicep injury, the WBO looking to take his title and make it vacant, or pressure him to fight Tim Tszyu. So he's gonna have to make sure he gets to shows up fight night. Otherwise, he's just gonna be made miserable. And with Charlo, I hope he has a better plan. But I think like him going into that second fight with Tony Harrison, you know, he said it's gonna be different. He had to go back, look at himself, and say that, you know, I gotta be better than that. I got hit too much in that fight. That's not me. And in this fight, he got hit a lot too. And he got hit with some hard shots. And that wobbled him because Charlo goes straight back and sometimes his hands down. You know, he likes sometimes to throw his hook from down here. And Castano throws a high hook. So if you're coming low, he's coming high. And when you're in close quarters, Castano's arms are much shorter, so his punches were getting there quicker. And that's why Castano has so much success. And I think Charlo may have underestimated him a little bit too, because Castano can fight. And the other thing about Castano, a lot of people didn't know who he was, but then Castano was always bragging about how he beat Earl Spence as an amateur. And then when he got in there and almost beat Charlo, people are saying, whoa, who is this guy? Now, I didn't really know who he was. I'm just going to be honest with you. But now I know, and now I understand how he beat Earl Spence as an amateur. They're pros now, but the way he fights, I think he and Earl Spence would be a very good fight. A very, very good fight. And I'm just not sure who to put the money on as far as winning that fight, but I think that'll be a good fight. Castano is just a good fighter, and I just can't wait to see he and Charlo get it on. But Charlo said he wants to, you know, in his own way, you know, knock this MF'er out, and he gets all emotional. I just hope he understands, you know, Castano is not Tony Harrison. Tony Harrison is going to sit back, box, be cute, make you look bad, and exploit your defense, your lack of defense. Castano isn't really that kind of guy, man. He's going to get in close and try to knock you out. And Charlo has to be careful. He's not going to be dealing with someone who's sitting on the outside trying to box, make him miss. He's looking for someone who's going to be trying to get close to you and just bludgeon you. And as you throw punches, he's catching and shooting. That's a big difference with Castano. He's not just slipping the punch. He has that high guard. He's catching and shooting. If you don't know what that is, catch and shoot is you throw and you hit the glove. I block it. That's catching. And then I counter off it and I'm shooting. Castano did that in the first fight and had a lot of success. And the way you become good at that kind of defense and offense, that catch and shoot, is just by training. That's just by training over and over and over. You develop that muscle memory, and it'll just be instinctive. And just like riding a bike, man. You know, sooner or later you catch on to it, and you get on. It's just instinctive. You get on there, you get your balance, you go. Even if you haven't ridden in 15 years, you may be a little uncomfortable for a while, but eventually you'll get comfortable and everything will sort itself out. With this boxing and those things, it's instinctive. And even at my age, if I'm out there training, or I have friends who box and they're training, they want to do those things instinctively. You may not be able to react as quick, but you know what you need to do. It just sometimes it doesn't happen as fast. Castano, of course, he's in his prime, he's young, and he's not going to have any problem letting his hands go. But Jermell Charlo, he does so many things great. And I think he's going to come back, learn from his mistakes. Derek James is studying the film, seeing where he went wrong. And I think he just he kept his hands down too much, and he stayed in certain places too long. And I think he should just, keep that guy at the end of the jab, drop the right hand behind him in the hook, and when he does punch, get in close, bump him, turn him. Those are things he's going to have to do, because if he sits back and allows Castano to back him up, Jermell Charlo's at a huge disadvantage because he's tall. Sometimes he keeps his chin high in the air, and Castano's throwing those hooks. What's going to win Castano this fight? It's just hooks. Hooks. That, I'm telling you, the hook is going to be his bread and butter. What's going to win Charlo the fight is the jab and uppercut. Jab and uppercut. Keep him at a distance, and he and his brother are very good for throwing a lead uppercut. Because Castano, once you throw that jab, his high guard goes up. You time it right, jab, step off on an angle, and it's got to be right. You got to work it, because you lead with an uppercut is dangerous. Then he steps in with that uppercut. It's lights out for Castano. It really is. I remember watching Chop Corley. Can't remember who he was fighting, but it was a long time ago. And he was sitting there, man, jabbing, and he just threw a lead uppercut, that left hand, and just short-circuited that guy. I mean, it was like textbook, absolutely beautiful left uppercut. And the guy just short-circuited, man. It was amazing. And Jermell Charlo threw a very, was it Jermell? I think it was Jermell. Jermell threw a very, no, it was Jermell. Jermell threw a very nice counter, lead right uppercut when he was fighting the guy from Philly, man. The guy who, the banana guy from the Dominican Republic beat him. Can't remember his name. Seeing his face, man. Julian? Anyway, I don't want to say the wrong name. Seeing his face, man, he's Muslim and everything, has a lot of real estate up there in Philly. But I don't say Julian Williams, but I could be wrong. But anyway, Charlo hit him with that lead uppercut and short-circuited him, and then he just wasn't the same, and the referee stopped the fight. So that's my 2 cents on Castano, the Argentinian versus Jermell, the Houston native. I just think this fight is going to boil down to Castano getting close and letting his hooks go, Charlo keeping at a distance with that jab, and then letting the uppercut fly. Whoever can impose that, in my opinion, wins this fight, and wins by knockout. I think we can see Jermell get stopped, and I definitely know Castano can get stopped by Jermell, but I think Jermell can get stopped if he gets caught up in his work, admiring what he's doing, if he's having early success, because Castano's not going to go out easy. He counters, he catches and shoots, he gets close to your chest, and he just bangs away. He's not going to let you wrap him up. He's going to fight all the way through, every second of the round, and I think Charlo should win this fight. But if he gets lazy, there's a lapse in his judgment, lapse in his decision making, he's going to pay the ultimate price, and that's getting knocked out. And I would really like to see him be the undisputed super welterweight champion. I think that would be cool. And for his brother to go on and eventually start fighting some of the big names and start to rack up more belts. I think that would be amazing to see the twins do that. I'm not biased towards him or Castano. I just think the fact that those guys are twins, I know their story, and I would like to see them win. Castano, nice guy, I would like to see him win too, but not against Charlo. I'm rooting for Charlo to win that fight. Anyway, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. More videos to come. Appreciate the support. Thank you as always. And shout out to all the veterans. I'm in the breeze.